Check it out, guys. You remember the Scammers YFZ from a few weeks ago? The red YFZ that we fixed up. We got it pretty cheap. It was like 800 bucks. Well, man, did I score an awesome deal on that. Sit back and enjoy this vid. All right, guys, so basically we had the Scammers YFZ. It wasn't actually a scam. It actually turned out to be a really awesome deal, which is actually pretty rare sometimes on Marketplace to find great deals that aren't clapped out pieces of junk. So with that being said, basically, it turns out a subscriber contacted me through Marketplace, which was awesome. And he liked the YFZ, saw the video on it, loved the way it runs, just wanted to fix it up, you know what I mean? And make it a project just like we said, you know, put plastics, make it, clean it up, make it look good, send it on its way, you know what I mean? So basically, he hit me up, he was like, hey man, I got this Ktm 640 Lc4. I took it down to the frame, was gonna paint it, and then didn't know how to put it all back together. And so looking at this thing, you can definitely tell it's kind of in rough shape, but these things go for a good buck on Marketplace. So I've seen them listed anywhere from like, you know, $4,000 to $5,000 in good running driving condition. Now, this thing is in okay shape. Some of the plastics were painted. I do have the rest of the parts sitting over there to the side, the tank, the seat, the exhaust, side fairings, and a couple other little things for it. I think it just needs like a chain and it needs to be gone through. There's no fluids in it. Obviously, it was all torn down. Some of the coolant line routing is a little off. I think this piece turns. It seems to turn over good, has great compression, but I hear a little click noise sometimes. I'm not sure exactly what that is. It could be a busted rocker. As I looked up, and these are well known to have a busted rocker issue. So that could be the case there. I don't know. We have to really dive into this thing. But looking at it, I mean, I'm not even sure where to start with this thing. But we did get a good deal. You know, we paid 800 for the YFZ. We got this and 500 bucks in return cash for that. So that's a pretty awesome deal. Because we get this thing running and riding for a cheaper amount, and it sells for even 3,500 bucks in good condition or fair condition. That's a big step up from an $800 YFZ. So with that being said, I'm definitely going to take a thorough look at this before we continue on with this video. I definitely want to make sure that everything's here. If I have to order anything, I'll get it on order, get it here, and then we'll start piecing this thing back together and see if we can get it ripping and riding, guys. Let's get it. All right, guys, and before we get cracking on this amazing Ktm 640 Lc4 Supermoto, I want to talk about today's sponsor of the video, Simply Carbon Fiber. Now, in the last ad, I was telling you guys about some of the amazing products that Simply Carbon Fiber offers, and it's one way that you can help support the channel is by clicking the link in the description below. Now, with that being said, they offer some very cool products. My favorite was sunglasses, as you guys remember, and guess what? They hooked your boy up with a set of those forged carbon classic sunglasses. Guys, they are on sale right now. Click the link in the description below. Use the code SFJ10, get you 10% off of your order. I will tell you, these sunglasses look incredible and also feel incredible. They have just that little bit of flexibility to shape your boy's big head. I am an extra large man and these glasses fit my head perfectly. I can tell you I will be wearing these while I am riding and in many future videos. So if you like them, make sure you check them out on Simply Carbon Fiber. Click the link below. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. Back to getting this thing ripping. Alright guys, so the very first thing we have to tackle is this cam-driven water pump assembly. It's pointing in the wrong direction, similar to Google Maps, especially when you're trying to navigate heavy traffic. Boy, is that frustrating. Anyways, we have to get this thing turned around the correct way so we can connect all of the coolant hoses and keep this thing cool under pressure. It's a pretty simple process. You have to loosen all of the valve cover bolts, and with a little effort, the entire assembly will turn into whichever position you land it. I just referenced some Google shots on the old interwebs and got it close enough.
This is the hour, the darkest place. Dante's Inferno, the devil's maze. It's a good world, good world going bad. Half the people die while the rest of us are splitting hairs. It's a good world, good world gone bad.
Next up, while we are in there tackling this area of the engine, we may as well just give it a good once over on the valve clearances and check for any issues or areas of concern here, like a broken rocker. The valve clearances are 0.15 millimeters for both the exhaust and the intake, which is about 6/1000 of an inch. Another slick way of setting these is to use the 1/6 method of using the 6 sides of the hex nut on the tightening nut, or some call it one flat. I did test this out and it does have the necessary clearance here. Alright guys, so now that we got a good bit of this bike sorted out, we got the water pump lines put onto the water pump. We got that piece turned into its proper position. I did notice the fan has a small break in it right here, so I may have to order a fan for this. Don't need it to get it running at this very moment. It's also cold enough outside here in Pennsylvania that I should be able to run this around and not have to worry about any overheating. I did go ahead and pick up some 10W30 oil. Don't yell at me. I know 4-strokes use specific types of oil for the clutches. I've been using 10W30 for years without an issue, so I'm going to continue to do that in some of my flips. But with that being said, this thing's ready for some coolant. I did go through the wiring, and I'll just tell you, this thing was a nightmare to work on the wiring. The diagram does explain things pretty well, but a lot of the colors from plug to plug don't actually line up properly. Like the colors don't exactly just match. Like for instance, there's a plug right here that goes from the positive down to the voltage regulator. Well, it's black on the side of the fuse, and then it's yellow with a red stripe going to the voltage regulator. And those two plug in, and that's the proper sequence for the voltage regulator to get power. So, you know, there's just a lot of little stuff like that. I had to comb through the wiring like 4 times to finally get the bike to have proper power, and I still haven't got it to turn over. I put a car battery, I jumped a car battery up to this, just temporarily. I have a battery coming in for this. So I jumped a car battery, and then every time I hit the switch, I just see the wire getting hot. It's not actually putting power down to the actual starter, or I'm missing a ground. So I have to go through and check that out real quick. But we're pretty much ready to move on to the carburetor. We got the valve clearances done. I got to get all the cables put on this thing, and then we can start. Even if I got to kick it, you know, it'll be the first time. This is the first left-hand kick bike that I have ever owned. So with that being said, this is going to be very interesting if I have to try and start this with a left-hand kickstart. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. We're going to tackle the carburetor. go through the rest of the lines on the carburetor, hook all the cables up, and then we'll see if we can get this thing to fire up. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you guys was the spark plug was ridiculously hard to get out. Apparently, you probably need a special socket to get this out. It's an 18 millimeter, but my Harbor Freight 18 millimeter socket wouldn't quite fit in the hole, and I've had this happen previously. So I just took it over to the lathe. I went ahead and ground off like, 70 thousandths of material, got that thing super thin, and then it did fit inside the hole, and we were able to get it out with an 18 millimeter. So anyways, let's move on to the next thing. Let's get this running and ripping, guys. Let's get it. Alright guys, so next things first, we have to sort out the remainder of this wiring and figure out why this bike will not turn over. I wound up tracing down a lot of this harness to come to the conclusion there actually isn't anything wrong with the harness at all. Eventually I came to my senses and realized the positive wire was getting so hot because the starter was actually stuck, which would most certainly cause this issue. I wound up taking off the starter cover, only to reveal the transition gear between the starter and the starter clutch was in backwards, causing it to rub the inside of the engine case and bind everything up. Once I flipped this gear around, it solved this problem completely and led me to my next issue.
Yeah, baby!
I was so excited here that it took me some time to realize that the starter clutch was actually shot and only grabbing the flywheel at random. But I decided to try my luck at first time left-hand kickstarting and thought maybe I would step in a nice big pile of dookie and by some miracle of the gearhead gods it would just magically fire up for me. Yeah, okay, like that was actually gonna happen. But let's go ahead and get these last few things sorted out so we can get our hopes shot down. I mean, see if we can bring this thing to life, of course. While I have the bike stripped down like this, let's take a good deep look at the carburetor and make sure there's nothing that's going to prevent the fuel from entering this big bore mother thumper. The last things to install before we can try to test fire this beast nugget are the fuel tank, handlebar switch, and also the decompression cable, because I read online it is necessary to have the decompression hooked up to start this. Also, I would like to note here that the clicking I heard when kicking this thing over was actually a fully functioning decompression mechanism, which is really good to know, since these are also known for being a huge failure point as well. On with the show. Alright, this will be my first time kicking over a left-hand kick bike. This ought to be a pretty interesting experience. We've got everything done that we can do to be able to kickstart this because I'm still waiting on the one-way bearing for the driver's side of the passenger side of the engine. With that being said, let's give her a fire. Let's see if we get the fire up, see what it sounds like. I have no exhaust on it too, so this ought to be interesting. Sheesh. Ouch! Ooh, that kicked slow. Oh, I guess it would help if I turned the gas on. And with all that kicking, I could not get this big bore bad mamma jamma to fire up, so I wound up calling it quits and waiting for the one-way bearing to arrive for the starter clutch, which is where we're going to start next. We have to remove the flywheel cover and use a special puller to separate it from the crank. The one-way bearing is located on the back side of the flywheel, and as I removed it, literally started falling apart, so I was more than sure this was the issue to begin with, although this just confirmed it a bit more for me. Let's give her a shot now after putting the bearing on and see what she does. Alright, sounds much better. We're going to go ahead and give this thing a first fire. Alright, let's try this again. Everything's hooked up. I got a decompression cable on it. I got a little bit of antifreeze in it. There's a little bit of fuel in the float bowl. I did set the tank on for a second, so it should be enough just to get it fired up. Let's see if this thing will breathe some life. Okay, that was a little rich. Well, we're getting somewhere. Or are we? It wasn't until I made this one simple change that I actually closed the gap on why this massive bike just wouldn't fire up for me.
I spent so much time combing through the carburetor, again playing with the air screw, and also rechecked my valve clearances to be sure I didn't set them on the wrong top dead center, because I came to find out that's actually a thing.
Alright guys, so I have been struggling like crazy to get this bike fired up. Could not figure out what the issue is, but I finally did get it figured out. And that leads me up to today's second video sponsor, Life PO4 batteries. Guys, they make an incredible line of lithium batteries, especially for power sports applications. It is called a Gricel. It is a phenomenal lithium battery. I've got one here in the bike. I will tell you, there's a link in the description below if you want to check these things out. I've been looking for a better, cheaper battery company to use, especially with lithium batteries. They can be a little on the pricier side as it is a more newer style type of battery. But guys, check the link in the description below. Your boy coming in clutch with a better, more affordable option. And I'll tell you, I fought this bike. I went back through, I did the valve clearances on this thing. This is no word of a lie. I spent the last, about 2 hours and 11 minutes or so, and I couldn't figure it out. I was cranking it. I've got this car battery hooked up to this thing. I've got a Walmart Everstart value battery hooked up. It's a big, 800 cranking amp car battery. I'm like, that should be more than enough to crank this thing up. I fully charged it last night, brought it out this morning, and plugged it in, and I could not get it to fire up. Crank. I'm sitting here going forever on this thing. I plug in the battery that they sent me for this. I believe it was a 6 amp hour battery. I can list it below in the description for you guys of the exact battery I got for this. And I'll tell you what, literally, I didn't have to do anything but hook the battery up. It was already 90%. It has these awesome little button on it that tells you how much of a charge is on it, which is incredible. I've never seen that on a battery before of this size. And I'll tell you what, guys, look, this speaks for itself. Just a little bit of choke, hit the start button. Fired right up, guys. I can't make this up. That's the antifreeze. I had to fix a piece that I didn't show on video here. That's the antifreeze coming out of the thermostat housing. It dripped down on the exhaust, so that's that sweet smell right there. But anyways, guys, if you enjoy, if you find yourself laughing at me, awesome. Make sure you help me out. Go check out these batteries. They're freaking sick. I got one for my personal YFZ 450 that I'll be doing some videos in the next couple weeks on. And yeah, guys, let's get back to building this thing, making it a ripper.
Now that we finally got this wild animal on a leash, it's time to do the finishing touches. I'm gonna start by permanently fixing up this wiring with my favorite fix, zippy ties. Because it looks like a nightmare, and zippy ties will help it look less like a miserable marketplace mishap. What a tongue twister. Once we get the wiring finished up, I'll move on to remounting the headlight, gas tank, plastics, and seat, and I'll even change out the rear sprocket since it's shark-toothed and toss on a brand spanking new RK chain as well. I also realized the rear brake pads and the rubber mounts for the gas tank are missing, so I got those on order, but not in time for the video, but good enough to rip it, right? Who uses back brakes anyways? Note to self, don't stick your finger by the rotor after spinning the wheel, even if you're just feeling for straightness. Incoming graphic pain alert. Ouch, that really frickin' hurt. But I'm not gonna let anything stop me from finishing this painfully awesome supermoto, even if it is slicing the end of my middle finger that I use every day for literally everything. Pretty much even as I type this sentence, the pain is still there reminding me of my ridiculous mistake. Plus, sometimes I get the feeling just about every machine I build or fix up loves to take a small piece of me with it.
Slowly into the silent night, an endless fall, like cuts from 1,000 knives. I hear you call, but I'm still stumbling.
All right, guys, so we are ready to take this thing on its maiden voyage. I don't think it turned out too bad for a marketplace flip. Now, you could spend a lot of time and money getting this thing to look really, really beautiful, but that wasn't my goal with this one. It's kind of a mid-level bike. It's not like, you know, a YFZ 450 where you get on it and it's race ready. These 640s, even though it's a very large bore, they're good for on and off road, but they're low thumper, torquey bikes. They don't have a lot of top end grunt to my understanding. So with that being said, you know, because these aren't highly sought after bikes, I didn't want to go and put a ton of money into the cosmetics on this thing. I let the next owner take care of that. I just get this thing in good operating condition so that it's safe, reliable, and then the next guy can make it look really good. So with that being said, this is quite a step up from an $800 YFZ 450. Now, we did take the $500 cash and put all of that back into this bike. This bike needed a bunch of parts. Two things which I'm still waiting on are the gas tank mounts, the rubber mounts on the frame, and then also the rear brake pads. So I do have to install those when they come in, but this is good enough for a first test ride. So with that being said, there was a bunch of other little things to take care of on the bike that required a little bit of money here and there. Not a lot, just little things that add up. So now that we got everything out of the way, we're ready to take this thing for a ride. But before we take it for a ride, I did want to talk about one quick thing with you guys. I am thinking about not doing stock builds on the channel anymore, and I'll tell you why. Recently, I've noticed that a lot of my very unique builds, like, you know, the Turbo Blaster, the Banshee Swap Kids Quad, the CBR 600 powered ATC 200X, like those builds are super unique and they seem to get a lot of attention from you guys. So that tells me that you guys want to see more cool stuff like that. And so I might not continue to show builds like this, or like next week, I might be doing a TRX 450R on the channel, and that might be the last one I do as a more stalker style build. I'll get into more unique stuff, but the problem is I'm not gonna be able to do that every Friday at 5, which is my posting schedule now. So what I might be doing is dialing that back a little bit and do like more of a Weston Champlin style where, you know, it's like every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I post one very long, in-depth, full build video. So I apologize if that's not what you guys want to hear, but you know, I got to go where the views are for YouTube, and my passion is with building the unique stuff anyways. This is just means to get by, basically. Like I do these small flips and stuff for a pocket change here and there to keep stuff going, like the race truck, the 350Z, like to get that run and ride and get the parts, because these things are very expensive and YouTube does not pay for not even the tiniest fraction of what it costs to take care of this stuff. So with that being said, definitely would like your guys' feedback. Drop me a comment below if you would prefer to see more unique stuff and get away from the stalker style build stuff. All right, guys, so I'm done talking. I am ready to take this thing for a little rippy poo.
All right. Hey, 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 hey. No, 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 no. Dang it. Go, 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 go. All right, let's take this thing for a little rip, or a little ripper. Cold, it fires right up. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. No major leaks. This little thing is broken off the end of the front brake, so that kind of sucks. But overall, pretty happy with the bike, the way it turned out. Let's give it a second to warm up. And I'm gonna take it down to the gas station here, the local gas station, put some gas in it. Kind of excited to see how it runs. I've never driven a supermoto this big before, that's for sure. Kind of a crappy day out, but it is what it is. Oh, she got some balls, I'll tell you that. I mean, I guess it should for a 640 though. That's a pretty big bore on a bike, man. That's a big bore on anything almost. Well, now they're coming out with like 1000s and stuff like that, so I guess not, but I just gotta be careful. I got no back brakes. Brake pads didn't come in yet, so. Oh my god, dude, that thing came right up. I actually kind of like this, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, let's get some gas quick. First impressions, man. Second gear came right up. You can't beat that, man. Not every bike can come up in second gear. The other thing was this lock doesn't work on the gas tank either, which is fine. It is what it is, you know. But I mean, what do you want? This is going to be a cheaper marketplace thing, you know what I mean? Where we're not asking for, you know, a ton of money. I don't know, man. Every time I ride something like this, I always want to keep it. It kind of sucks. I don't like getting rid of them. I ain't gonna lie. And the amount of power that this thing has, I kind of like it. I'm not gonna fib to you. Although I don't think this is like one of the prettier supermotos. I really hate calling it ugly, but honest to God, it like the tank design is what kills it for me. And I'll back up here in a second so you guys can get a better look at it, but just the gas tank and the rear fender kind of kill the whole supermoto vibe for me. Kind of makes it look more of like a woodsy type trail bike, you know, whereas I like the sleek, sexy looking body lines and such. Smaller, thinner fenders and nice sharp curvatures, where this tank's like big and bulky. And I mean, it definitely is helpful where it has more gas quantity in it, where this is probably like a 3.5 gallon tank or something like that. We'll see here in a second because she's pretty empty. But I guess for its era, 2000s, that's pretty good plastic formation for the tank. So I've seen much uglier gas tanks before, that's for sure. Alright, we are almost full. Yep, we're full. Okay, what do we get? Oh my god, dude. 5 gallons of gas. Oh, I take back what I said. The tank definitely deserves props for being that much. Oh my god. 5 gallons in that thing. That is insane. But I mean, I guess it's not too bad, the curve of it, but it's like really huge and bulky.
But I guess the overall design of the bike's not bad. It's definitely a cool looking bike. Missing the side cover there, not a huge deal. But all right, let me pay for my gas quick. We'll be right back. All right, got myself a chocolate frickin' muffin, even though I'm supposed to be on a cut. I got that because it's Easter weekend, and I feel like I deserve at least a muffin for Easter. Handle's really nice. Watch this. Oh yeah, man. Third gear right up, man. Oh my god, dude. I like it a lot. That's power, man. That's real freaking power. That's real torque. That's what that is. Not a lot of bikes have that kind of oomph. Animalistic though. I dig it. Yeah, baby, let's go. My fun. Goes through all the gears good. I can't complain, guys. What do you think? Drop me a comment below. Definitely worth a couple $1,000. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Peace out.